it a little bit has to do with your worldview. Like, I am happy for the robots to be my assistant and do the things I don't want to do. And I know there's a little upheaval in our industry because, oh my gosh, Zillow can now be searched inside of ChatGPT. I'm like, well, that was the most predictable thing that I could see coming. I can't believe it actually took 2.5 years to happen. My best use of my time is not sitting in front of the MLS, sorting through listings and fighting for the buyers. Mine is to sit with them and coach them and mentor them and tell them about the process and what to look out for and what to be keen to when they do get that results.
Well, hi there, and welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Mark Peebles, here to help you live your best life and achieve ultimate success. And today is really a day that I've been looking forward to, like you can't even imagine, because I have a guest on, someone that for several years now I have had such a profound respect for. I not only have sat through his classes in conferences that I've attended, but then recently, I've taken every class where he does something online through our state, and we had him into our company recently to talk about AI. And he has a wealth of knowledge, not just about technology and AI, but about life and about how to make you better in real estate. And so today is such a privilege for me to introduce and welcome to Real Life in Real Estate, Matthew Rathbun. Matthew, thank you so much for being with us today.
Mark, thank you so much. I can only hope to live up to that intro, that level of expectation, because, before we're getting on here, I'm sitting down with pen and paper trying to figure out what I'm having for lunch, nonetheless, helping with everybody else's stuff. It was, left to my own demise here. And by the way, I appreciate not only being invited here, but to speak to your group, such a great group. And your team has been, they are on it. They are a well-oiled machine, and they're incredibly polite and professional. It's just really, honestly.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I can't really take credit for that because they spend most of their time babysitting me. So, but no, and seriously, so we had Matthew in the last couple of weeks. We did an AI class that we streamed to all of our locations. I think we had 9 different locations, and it was just great, Matthew, to get to sit at your feet and listen and learn. And one of the things you like to teach is AI. We're going to talk about that today. But before we even get there, tell me about Matthew Rathbun. How did we get to this point? How did you get to this point in your real estate career? We just want to know about you.
Wow. Yeah, I still live in the same county I was born in. I've been married to a beautiful gal, Jennifer, for 32 years. If you want to know the secret, it's, you pursue it as if she has options all the time, and you date as often as you can, and separate bank accounts. Those are like our 3 things.
Oh, that's good.
No, we don't. She, for all clarity, she has access to everything that I have, bank accounts and everything. But no, I think, I was talking to somebody the other day, and she goes, I can't imagine being married to somebody for 32 years. She's been divorced or remarried 3 times. I'm like, to me, it's great. Like, we've grown together. We got married at 18. We're now in our 50s. Wow. We've grown together. We've experienced life together. I have failed at some point, and she's forgiven at some point, and we moved on. And we started, being tied together by our faith early on. And we have 3 girls, and we have 3 daughters who are amazing and very, very, very different. For 3 kids who were raised by the same 2 people, you'd think they'd be similar. And they have, one of them has now got 2 grandkids, and they're actually here today taking little naps with a 2-year-old and an 11-month-old, or 10-month-old actually. And they are amazing. So if anybody's listening is like, I don't know if I can let my kids live any longer, let them live, because having grandkids is not only retribution on the parents, it is fantastic. I love the whole concept of the next legacy and the next generation, and investing in them, and all the cool toys we can buy that we couldn't afford for our kids when they were little.
That's right.
So yeah, that's been my process. I got licensed in 2002, 2003, and got started up and running, and was in a very small company of 3 agents and a broker who had never done residential. He was a commercial guy, but he was, he did his best. And, I remember sitting in pre-licensing and looking at some of the things we were doing and going, I don't know that this is the best for the consumer, and I have some ideas about this. And then about a year, just about the year mark, I was building websites, and we didn't call them blogs, but we had articles back then. And the association exec noticed it and asked me to come in and teach at a panel discussion about what I was doing online. And got done with that class. This is 2003. And everybody kept coming up to me, and I thought, cool. Like, your audience comes up and talks to you after a session. You feel like, you've done something well. They each one in turn told me that internet was a fad and I should go door knocking and pamphlet stuffing and mailbox and all that kind of stuff. And then here we are. So that was my origin story.
Like being like in your face, like if you could go back to them.
I did have one experience, and I don't want to embarrass a person, but somebody my first year told me that I wouldn't make it because I was too young. Young people did not do well in real estate. And then about 5 years later, he had shut his brokers down, went to work for somebody else, and they hired me to come in and do broker development. And he had to sit in a class taught by somebody for 4 days that he had told wouldn't make it in the industry. So
wow. That's awesome.
It wasn't discouraging. He thought it was helping me because young people were struggling to be in it back then. But I just did all the work, man. I took every class. I did all the things that I thought people needed to have as a certain level of service, and they kept sharing my name, and here we are.
So let's talk about young people in the industry, because I don't know about you, but I feel like when I go into meetings and I teach out places, or just in my own market, I feel like our industry has gotten a lot younger. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We were just having this discussion at a leadership meeting. When I look around, and Air reported just 2 days ago that we had a 4.6% decline in membership, which is not substantial considering what's going on in the world and how many Realtor members we have. But someone noted that the demographic of those who are getting out of the business are a little older now. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, I'm seeing a lot of brokers have been doing this for 20, 30 years going, people are more challenging to work with. The technology, the world around us, I just don't want to do it anymore. They've earned the right to say, I'm out, and they're selling their brokerages and things. And younger agents are getting in. And again, I feel like I'm an immature 50, let's say. Right. And I remember when I looked around at our membership, when I was doing this in my 20s, there was nobody else my age. And if they were, I just knew they wouldn't be around in a year or two later, even if their mom and dad were successful agents. Now we are seeing younger agents who grew up kind of in the influencer culture of Instagram and YouTube and all those things, applying those rules early on, and they are gaining more success faster. There's a bunch of numbers kind of rolling around now showing that younger agents are gaining a following and engagement faster. Now, without the life experience, I will tell you at 20 years old, I didn't appreciate the things about my clients and business that I do now in my 40s and 50s, but I believe that I serve them well. So there is a disconnect now in the experiences you bring in your 20s and 30s. But you're building an audience faster and with the more modern skills. And I think that AI will perpetuate that. And people who are adopting those things will be able to compete at a level that no one else ever even thought of in their first 1 to 3 years. So yeah, I'm kind of down for it.
Yeah, I am too. I love seeing young people get in the business. I was 27 when I got in. How old were you?
I was 24.
24. Okay. So we were pretty close in the time frame. I wish I'd gotten in at 24. I actually wish I had come right out of college into this business because I love the business. And I think I would have, I would have been so much further ahead. Yeah. But for someone that's young, that it may be starting out around the ages that we did, what advice would you give them when they come in? What do they need to do to be successful?
Yeah, the first thing is if you hear another agent start off a conversation with, I've been doing this for, and inserts a number, whatever comes afterwards is BS.
Right.
It's literally, it is because the things that got me successful today, the activities got me successul today would not, or back, 20 years ago, 23, however many years ago it was, would not get me success today. There's so many more tools and resources to do that. So I think the first thing is don't get discouraged and don't get beat down by somebody because they're older. That happens so much in our business, of talking down to someone because they're in their 20s or 30s. They have, and funny enough, agents will go, I've been doing this for 30 years, and you do the math and realize they weren't much older than the people they're talking down to now
Right.
when they themselves got started. And we discourage young people for no good reason out there other than we're afraid of the competition the more mature agents get. So I would say, again, ignore the foundational statement that says I've been doing this for a long time, therefore I'm right, because it's not true. The world changes too rapidly. So that's the first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is you have to build a tribe both offline and online. It's easy if you're in your 20s or 30s to build it's not easy, but it's easier to build a Instagram account or a TikTok or YouTube channel. But a lot of your clients with an average first-time home buyer age now being close to 40 or actually early 40s, depending where you are in the country, some of them are still lingering there on Facebook. And some of them are still looking for in-person opportunities, and they want to see you at the the meetups and the SPCA volunteer days and church and those types of things. So it's not one or the other. You still have to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Here's an interesting thing. Whenever I talk to young people, I always bring up Facebook, and I'm like, now you may not be familiar with that, but it is actually a social media platform, right? But here's the thing. I've got this agent in my company. She started I think she was 21 when she started. She's 23 now. And recently she spoke at an agent panel about the things that she's doing on social media.
Good for her.
And she said, I know Mark always makes fun of us young people for not knowing Facebook, but she said, I'll be honest with you, I get the most engagement on Facebook and the most business out of Facebook when compared to any other platform that I'm on. And so I think we can't discount Facebook. If you're young, you can't do that. Maybe that's one takeaway from this. But the other thing is that you said it, the typical first-time home buyer, and I've talked about this on the show here in the last couple of weeks, being 40 years old, first of all, I think is a tragedy for our industry.
Yeah.
But I also think it takes education. And one thing is I think young agents can actually be drivers in this business when it comes to educating the younger population on how to buy homes sooner. So I don't know, thoughts on that?
No, it's a different language. And I talk about this in my leadership programs for brokers, is that you have to be able to understand that there is a language barrier in how we talk. And I'm not talking about the cutesy, kind of, words that people make fun of. It's really about understanding their concerns. I'll give you an example. And this doesn't always play well with every audience, so I'm sorry if people turn off the episode at this point. But but you hear agents, or you see agents going on social media platforms, very often Facebook, and saying, if you just bought a house in 1989 or even 1999 and the interest rate was 12%, here's the equity and all these other things. It shows a complete lack of understanding about the problems that a young person faces right now. So when you think about that post alone, that's an immediate breach of trust and shows that you don't understand my family. I'm 32 years old. I'm working 2 jobs. My wife is working a job, and we still can barely make ends meet. And you're out here saying 12% interest rate or 7% interest rate or 6% interest rate isn't bad. 20 years ago, to qualify for a loan, you had to have 25% of your income each month could go towards housing. Now it's like 47%. Right. Childcare was 6 to 7%. Now it's closer to 16%. In theory, a 30-something-year-old is looking at 60+% being housing and childcare. And food has gotten much more expensive, and our cost of living has exponentially across all. I don't care what any elected official says; it's happening.
Yep, absolutely.
And the agent doesn't have the buffer of the financial buffer to make the big buying decisions like housing and all the rest. They're putting it off. And for us to not show understanding of that shows a very deep breach between who the consumer actually is and who we should be to them and how we're going to coach them. And so if I'm out here talking to them, because I think the next reasonable question is what she'd be saying is, hey, I understand. Yeah. But you need to understand that ownership leads to financial freedom through this, and this, and it's going to be a struggle. We're not putting that aside. I'm not here. And when I shared with your folks about AI very often populates what agents use as vernacular in their marketing. So you hear dream home all the time. And I specifically tell my AI, don't use dream home, because my consumers, my clients, they're not buying their dream home. They're buying the safe one. the one they can afford, the one that's close to the school, the one that's close to a park. That should be good enough for me. My messaging is I'm not here for just the cash buyers. I'm here for you to help you through your struggles, to be your guide here so that you can achieve home ownership and American dream.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of what we get to do as agents is we get to help someone realize the dream of home ownership. It's not the dream home. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love selling the dream home, right? There's just something special when you sell that farm that they've waited for 25 years to buy, or for some, it's buying the mansion, right? Yeah. For some, it's just buying the little cabin out in the woods. And that was their dream. And now they're achieving their dream. That's amazing. However, I think just as amazing is when that first-time home buyer steps into the dream of home ownership. And so I love what you're saying, though. I agree with you. We do have to understand where those buyers are coming from. And yes, everything has gotten more expensive. What is the answer from your perspective? Because it's way above my pay grade to figure out the answer. But is it a 50-year mortgage? Is it portable mortgages? Is it what is going to fix the problem? And I know it's beyond mortgages.
Yeah, we had just opened up a can of worms here. So
no, I'm opening it up on you, so you have to answer.
So let's talk about this in two Aaron. I'll just give from my perception, my worldview is I've just come off of a year being the president of a nonprofit that deals with affordable housing in our area. We manage 2,000 of the voucher programs because in our state, nonprofits manage those, not necessarily the government does. We own a number that our nonprofit owns a number of homes that we rent for below market value. We manage other properties for others for below market. Like this has been my world for a while, understanding these problems. And there are some very creative opportunities come out there. One of the projects we're working on now is a land trust where the land remains with the trust. So if you get the house and you get to make payments and you get to buy it and it's below market value, substantially below market value, when you sell it, you only retain 20% of the equity. The other 80% of the equity goes back to the trust to pay off all the houses so that we can take that money and reinvest. So that's one option. That's a private option. From a government standpoint, I mean, policies do matter, but if you can't make life affordable, housing, it gets further out of reach. And so when you hear things like, when an elected official is fielding something to see if an idea floats before taking it, making a statue, or they're deflecting from some other problem going on or whatever, they'll throw stuff out there on a Twitter X or other social media platforms. And our agents jump on it as if it's a full grown policy. And so recently the 50-year mortgage was something that was said. I felt very offhanded as hey, what do you guys think from the president? And people started pontificating on it and creating policies that don't exist and rationales that don't exist. And then that content obviously went nowhere. That idea kind of was
fizzled,
flashed, and then went away. And then there was supportability and people were talking as if there's this well thought out policy. To me, it takes away the trustworthiness of a real estate agent who's pontificating in a video on Facebook about something we really don't know or understand until we get more information about what the bill looks like or what Fannie, Freddie, and our lenders will do. There's much better content to be created out there instead of that, to get the consumer feeling that they can afford something by saying, if you're qualified for $500,000, let's go look at $250 and see if it meets your needs for home safety right now, so that one day you can buy and sell a couple of times, live in it for a few years, build equity, so you have the down payment for $500,000. I can help you with a plan. If your credit's bad, I can help you with a plan. Let's look at what is comfortable for you in as safe an environment as we can create within the confines of fair housing and other regulatory restrictions, what we can speak to find a long-term path. Not just today is not going to be your $750,000 home, but it might be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if you do some smaller things like the rest of it had to do. So that's the answer to affordability is we have to make the rest of life affordable. We have to have better income streams. We have to have, some policies in place that are going to encourage a lot of things. And we got a lot of challenges to that. It's easy to say, it's very challenging to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and one of the big challenges is that all of our jobs are going to be taken over by robots, which is what I want to talk to you next about. You happen to be an expert when it comes to the robots or AI and how we're using it in real estate. And so, first off, I want to say this: I took one of your online classes 4 or 5 months ago that you did for the state of Ohio Realtors, where I'm an agent. And then you just did the same thing, or a little bit extended, for our company, which we've talked about. It is blowing my mind how much more content, how much more capability AI has that you're now teaching 5 months later. And it seems like it's going faster and faster and faster every day. So how do you think, like, I know this is a very broad question, but how do you think AI is going to impact real estate today, and how's it going to impact real estate tomorrow?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, we all have our crystal ball that is a little foggy on this right now, to be honest with you. And first of all, I appreciate it. And also I love the people at Ohio Association. They are a fantastic group to work with. They're
doing a great job.
Sorry.
He got a little choked up, folks.
I did, man. It's just, now I'm fighting this little, post-travel cough I got going on here. I apologize for that. Look, it a little bit has to do with your worldview. Like, I am happy for the robots to be my assistant and do the things I don't want to do. And I know there's a little upheaval in our industry because, oh my gosh, Zillow can now be searched inside of ChatGPT. I'm like, well, that was the most predictable thing that I could see coming. I can't believe it actually took 2.5 years to happen. My best use of my time is not sitting in front of the MLS, sorting through listings and fighting for the buyers. Mine is to sit with them and coach them and mentor them and tell them about the process and what they look out for and what to be keen to when they do get that result. So you're already seeing this, a lot more automation for us as agents. This is my unlicensed assistant with a PhD level brain.
Right.
I just need to know how to talk to her and engage and get the content I want. But I'm getting approached by a lot of companies right now who are offering some amazing technology that is a little bit of vaporware. And if you're not familiar with the term, it's when a tech company says they have a product that they don't. It's a concept and they haven't built it yet. And it's, do your market analysis for you. That company actually exists. It's good. It's not great. It still requires me to know what's going on, because this PhD level brain as an assistant has never visited the property. She doesn't know what my buyer is actually looking for. She's not part of those conversations yet, but she can go do that field work for me, which is kind of where we are now.
Can she smell the cat pee?
She cannot. Yeah, the cabbage and cat pee smell of grandma's kitchen. Yeah. Yep. No, she's not quite there yet.
Okay.
No, she can see it though, but she might be able to tell you what it is. But she can't tell you that. And we lean into what can it do to enhance us, to make us more valuable to the consumer. And I really look at this as an opportunity to say, look, for a very low cost and very high level of sophisticated service, that assistant we've all wanted for our entire careers is there. But it should free us up to spend more time with our family, more time in relationship with our clients, more time to do the human things that we were too frustrated to do. When a client reaches out by email and says, and I'm going on a tangent here, I'll wrap this up. But a client goes out and emails you and says, can you tell me more about this home? The word more is a critically important part of that email for that conversion opportunity, not lead generation. I hate when we reduce people down to the word lead, but the conversion opportunity. They've got the facts, the figures, the numbers, and all the rest. If my computer assistant, if my AI is doing a lot of automated stuff, it gives me more time to pick up the phone, to call Mark and go, hey, thanks for that email about what is going on more. But more is a relative term to what your needs are. Tell me about your needs, and then I'll tell you what you need to know about the home, and we'll see if it's a good fit to go see it or not. That, as opposed to an email going, oh, it's a great home, we want to go see it on Saturday, is the humanization of our process, so that the robot can go do other things. It can go do contract reviews for brokers. It can go do market analysis instead of an hour and a half to 2 minutes. Building marketing content that, if I program it right, sounds like me and is humanized to reach a target audience. Those are all the right things. Is it going to replace us? Eventually, it might, if we don't change who we are and how we behave to that consumer to continue to show value. And you've got a lot of agents out here who they want to know what to fill in the blanks in the contract and send it over and not negotiate and not build a rapport with their client or the other side. That those folks are going to get replaced. Yep. Those who bring a level of guidance and consultation and deep knowledge, AI is just not going to be there anytime soon. but it doesn't mean the consumer's not already asking questions of it.
Right.
And so, it's not good at problem solving. It's good at giving you quick answers right now. We're the problem solvers, and that's how we should be positioning ourselves.
So on a daily basis, I want to use AI to enhance my business as my assistant. Tell me, from the time I hit the office to the time I lay my head on the pillow, because let's face it, as agents, we are oftentimes doing a lot of evening work before our heads hit the pillow.
Yeah.
How should I be using AI right now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a sticky note person. My wife is a sticky note person. She's got boxes of, matter of fact, we went out to dinner last night, had a couple drinks and some dinner, and we were going back to the car, and she said, "Oh, hold on, look, the Office Depot over here has a going out of business sign out of it." She goes, "I wonder if they have discounted Post-it notes." This is this girl's first thought. So of course we trudge in there, and still can get it cheaper online. So
right.
But she's a Post-it note girl, and Post-it notes everywhere. I have one stack of Post-it notes in my drawer that's been here for probably 10 years. But I did take that sticky note, a Post-it note, and I put, how can AI help me with this? And I stuck it to my computer, and I stuck it in the dashboard of my car. And it made me think about my utilization of it differently, that it wasn't necessarily just there to do a question and answer. We've had that for Google. It was to help be a thought partner with me. And so I asked my AI, it's in her default settings, to challenge my thoughts when I share an idea, and to ask me at least 5 clarifying questions about any new idea or plan that I have. And I don't like wasted time. I've hated driving, not because I don't enjoy the drive, but because I thought it was wasted time where I couldn't do anything else. And so now, instead of listening to that podcast or that audiobook, and I still do those things, that's what cooking in the evenings for, that's what doing yard work for. But ChatGPT, her name is Kit after the Knight Rider car, but it's a her because she's always right. So clearly not a guy. So, so Kit and I have these great conversations while I'm driving, and I just turn her on and I turn on voice mode and go, this is my thought. Help me fine tune it. Ask me challenging questions, interview me to get the best results. Help me write the blog post. Help me write the new curriculum. Help me write the plan for my agent. And in some cases, as an agent, because I have the 2 hats of a broker and one as an agent, I'm like, and I just did this yesterday. Dear ChatGPT, I have never been in my career a fan of open houses. I've done one in 20 some years. I get rookies to do the other ones when the seller demands it. And some of them we just tell the seller no. But I do know that 54% of consumers, because NAR's profile home buyer and seller tells me so, 54% of consumers are visiting them. Is there a conversion opportunity? Help me write, and my question to her was, help me write a new plan for me as if I was Tony Stark conducting an open house. What would that look like? And man, I got to tell you, I got this. Matter of fact, I have a whiteboard in my office. Whereas I don't have Post-it notes, so I want to be fully transparent. I do use a whiteboard in the office here in the studio. And I got excited about this. And my wife came down and said, I spent 3 hours in my office. It felt like 20 minutes. And the whole time was bantering with ChatGPT. Tell me who the buyer is in my market. What is their demographic? What is their age? What is their villain? What do they need to see? What is the conversion opportunity? What else other properties should I have? Help me expand what a conversion opportunity would look like here. Fantastic plan. One of the days I'll roll out a training class for it, but for now,
so now you started this. You're going to have to give us a little sneak peek of that. Like, give me some thought, give me some ideas that you came up with using that as a prompt. I just have to know.
Yeah. So, it was, a lot of people are doing kind of the same thing. They put in aggregators and they let the aggregator know. One of the things that she came up with was write a story about how the buyer is going to enjoy the property, but make sure that it seems like it has only a moment in time. And I think that's what I actually used on listing. And I said, give me an example. And it started off with, there are singular moments in time where opportunities present themselves and then are fleeting. And if you want to know, then come visit this open house on Saturday at this time. And then ChatGPT recommended the best way to take that whole thing, and even said, do you want to write like a song or something about it? I'm like, yeah, let's go use Suno to take the listing property description based on this moment in time premise and write a song. And the first 2 songs were crap because they were country. The next 2 songs were fantastic.
Yeah.
and it was a song. And then it was like, okay, this should be playing in the house when the buyer walks in. And that blew my mind. And then it said, here's a playlist that you can get on Apple Music or Spotify, whatever you use. I use Apple Playlists that should be playing. That's going to help impact the consumer. Because, like, there's certain songs like during the holidays that they're very intentional about that they play in stores to get you in the shopping mood or to make you relax or whatever. So she created this playlist. We created a custom song for the house. Of course, there's a video walkthrough that they can scan through the QR code when they get to the open house. There's an FAQ that's created about the community. And then she started saying, this should be in your handout to them. But also, she was very clear, and this is a different conversation, but she's very clear that you're getting these buyers for other homes because they're highly unlikely to buy the home they entered for the open house, which statistically is very true. Right. And I've personally always had this moral standard. I get the sellers to sign an agreement to do an open house. If we do it, it's going to be a rookie because I don't do dual agency. It'll be designated. Also, there is not a high likelihood the house is going to sell from this. This is a chance. It's not generally the defining moment, and they have to agree to that and then open up their house. But it also went on to what are the most high profile and impact places. Like, you should do news releases instead of open houses, but also don't forget about Zillow, Realtor, Homes.com. Like, it started building this plan. Some of the stuff I thought about, but 20% of it is things I'd never considered. And then it was all about, make sure you have glasses of, wine available. But if you do, you have to have a permit, like all these kind of things, which, by the way, no agent's going to get a permit, but they're going to put the wine out. But it was all about setting this environment and making it a high impact thing at a very targeted audience. And she gave me 4 different plans for high end luxury to entry level homes and how to get the word out and how to engage. And it was just really exciting to play with that. And of course, now we're in Canva building out these, quick reference buyer guides for the community. That's what people are looking for to get a house. Anyways, that's just some of the stuff she came up with.
That's, and see, so for me, every time I talk to you about AI or I'm hearing from you on AI, it's always like, I can use it for that too. And so I think there's so many people, so many agents out there that are just unsure where to start. So if you were going to narrow it down and say, okay, you're an agent, there's a lot of agents that are our age in their 40s and 50s, and they're not 100% sure where to start with AI. What platforms should someone who's new to it look into first?
Yeah, I think you could rule the world with Canva and ChatGPT.
Yep.
Honestly, those two I think those should be the core of most of our planning right now, for a variety of reasons. One, it's the two platforms that are going to be around for a long time. Some of these other platforms that I hear other instructors coaching and stuff, and it's great. Everybody has their own thing. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm concerned about getting agents to invest in some of these companies that don't have the funding that ChatGPT or Google Gemini has. And they invest 2 or 3 years in it, and then it goes away because they either get bought out or they just don't have the funding. Right now, ChatGPT and Google Gemini have the funding. They also have a ubiquity of resources. If you go to YouTube and you want to know how to do a specific thing, ChatGPT is probably going to be the most predominant. Google Gemini is the second one. The reason I like ChatGPT over Gemini is that ChatGPT is more customizable. It feels more human. I can give it a name instead of Gemini. I can give it parameters and how to behave to me. And the personality is much more, it's easier to get lost in that personality and have real conversations. Gemini still feels like kind of a robot that isn't quite human yet, even though the content's just as good. So that's kind of my where I'm at. I do use Gemini for, and they just launched 3 yesterday and ChatGPT 5.1 the day before. Gemini I still use for image generation and some creative stuff.
Okay.
But oddly enough, ChatGPT is more progressive in what they do. Like, they allowed you to read your Gmails through ChatGPT before Google Gemini allowed you to read,
which is crazy.
Emails. It's absolutely insanity. But they're being a little bit more cautious. Google has a lot more to lose. And they're also under more scrutiny about some of the things that they're releasing that they just got through some cases. So you have to kind of watch that. But I think Canva and ChatGPT, I'm going to give it to anybody who uses Gemini. That's good too. It's just not as good as ChatGPT.
Okay. So now the question, paid or unpaid?
100% paid. So look, go get a breakfast sandwich and a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You're paying $18 for $20 a month. With ChatGPT, you're getting a PhD level assistant and all the things. But there's a couple of reasons why I think paid. One, not only the features, and it definitely opens up to more features. it also has a different caliber of encryption and security.
Yep.
If you're not paying for a service, you're the product, right? They're giving you this free so you can train it for those of us who pay for it.
Right.
Canva's $119. You're going to blow way more money on other stupid things that aren't going to get you nearly to the finish line in real estate than that. And $20 a month for ChatGPT. Those two married together are very, very powerful. But the paid version, again, it provides you more security and more features. And right now we want to do the best they can. And not just, and you may be somebody like me who's kind of, I don't know that there's a whole lot of real, I feel like every secret gets exposed at some point, including whatever conversation you're having online.
Sun. I think someone famous, Jesus said that. So,
so right. So yeah, quasi famous, but if I get when a data breach is had, and I'm on the stand and I'm testifying about what processes I put in place to keep my clients safe, to say that I paid the $20 a month because I was using it, maybe not to upload my client's documents. I'm still not doing that, but I will upload a blank contract and ask questions on it. I want to be able to say that I paid for the encrypted level service of everything that I'm using to help keep people safe. And again, there are more features and more tools, but I definitely paid.
Yeah. Well, and for agents out there, write that down, because we're in a business there's litigation that happens all the time, right, and high liability. And so what Matthew said right there is important. Write that down. Encryption, everything you can do to protect data. You want to be able to say on the stand, I did everything I could. Right. So that's good advice, Matthew. Hey, give me some advice on this. I have a dream. It's on my vision board to own a boat. And I'm bringing this specifically up from a conversation that you and I have had. But there are a lot of agents out there. They do their vision boards, right? They've got the big vision. They're starting to have some success in their business. I want you to talk to me about the right steps to take to ensure longevity and actually reaching your dreams in such a way that doesn't become burdensome.
So I'm not sure how to phrase it other than to say,
well, put in chat. Chat will help you with that.
No, I feel like when I take on a task, I have to do it 110%. I have always felt a duty to people around me and other things. And I don't mean to be that, sound arrogant or haughty about that. I started off as a young teenager in emergency medical services I'm on an ambulance and fire and all those things. I've always just felt like we have a duty to anybody who trusts us to serve them to the best we can. And that includes leadership. And as a broker, if you join our firm, if a client and you trust me to help you, the trust you gave me means something to me. And I feel like I have this burden to do all I can to help you out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a little ridiculous and over the top, and I get it. My wife says I need therapy for it, but I am the white, I jump in the middle of phrase I shouldn't to protect the person. But I want the best for the agents who join my firm or who trust me for coaching or whatever. And it is not about just making these stupid awards and trophies. It is not about how many homes you sold. If you did a half-assed job for 20 clients, you're not a good agent just because they gave you a trophy, say you did 20 transactions. That doesn't make you, that you didn't honor their trust. The standard should be much, much higher than it is. And it's the same for the agents who want to come and talk to me about joining our firm or working with me. I want you to buy that boat one day. I'm happy for you to do it, but only if you didn't sacrifice your relationship with your spouse or partner and your children. Because that time you're so worried and you're so wrapped around the axle about that stupid home inspection report and what the clients are going to say, and they really got to move. And you're at the dinner table and your kids have come home from school and they got something that's been on their heart. They're burdened to share you. They finally got the nerve to tell you about maybe some trouble they got in at school or maybe some amazing thing that happened and they've been waiting all day to get your undivided attention. And that stupid phone rings and you get up from the dinner table to go take it. You have told them for the rest of your relationship with them that phone call was more important than they were. If you are out here chasing every contract and going to every cocktail party without a spouse or partner and you're sacrificing that relationship at home and you're not happy, what good is the luxury car you just bought? It's just, to me, it's about, a lot of agents get out of the business because they can't handle their finances. So we start on day one with financial wellness.realtor, which every realtor has access to as a plan, making sure they're paying their taxes and finding like, what is a good financial plan for you? Because I want you to buy that boat, but you're not going to do it in year 3 in this industry. You might do it in year 20. You're going to enjoy it more when you're debt free and you bought it and you can retire and spend some time on it when you have the right systems and tools in place, that you're not running around crazy. So to me, I think it's a leader versus a manager. You have lots of managers in this industry who are like, just go focus on your value proposition and go knock on some doors because it's an easy thing to keep you busy. Very few brokers are actually leaders where they want to invest in you holistically and help you with your personal finances, providing an unparalleled service to your clients so that they know, like, and trust and refer you. None of you should be out here after your 3rd or 4th year chasing new business. You should be able to work the business that your past clients are referring to you. Yeah. And if you're not, you need to reframe what you're doing because you're not providing that level of service. And you're out there trying to make a deal happen because you're trying to pay your mortgage. And if it doesn't close, you can't pay your bills. That's not a healthy business. And they'll lead you down a very dangerous path of the advice and counsel you're giving the client. And so getting this stable income, and it takes time, and it takes a lot of diligence, and it takes a lot of discipline, because we all want to keep up with, and I did the same thing. My first year, unbelievable success. I never knew there was so much money to be had out there. And I was chasing after that next deal. And then I was like, I need to get a new car because all the other realtors in my office have new cars and all the other stuff. Guys, I'm still here. None of the other people I was trying to compete with, the fancy cars and the big houses, are still doing this. And we have a very modest plan until we were able to actually afford things. And my girls will tell you that we were just, the last one just got married, and they were all drinking. So they tell the truth what happened. And that they always felt like, they always felt like my wife first and then my girls, absent our faith. That was the first thing. But my wife first and then the girls were the most important things in my lives, and everything we did was for them. That is not the statement most realtors' families say about them. Yep. I feel like I'd rather go flip burgers at McDonald's and live in a smaller property and have those relationships be strong than have the boat and the car and all the other fancy things at the sacrifice of the people.
Yeah, that's so good. In fact, man, we could probably go to past episodes. I think I've said that same thing. Yeah. Because that's
what a leader says.
It really, I've always said, you can make all the money in the world, but when you get to your funeral, no one is going to stand up and talk about how many homes you sold, how much money you made. Why? Because no one cares. It's about the impact that you have while you're here. And a big part of that impact is keeping the most important things the most important. And that is your spouse. That is your kids. That's really what matters. That's where legacy is going to be born, right? And I love for you've got grandkids. I'm not there yet. My kids aren't quite there yet. But, grandkids, getting to see like the legacy take off, right? It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's like intentionality now, and I'm not throwing my son-in-law under the bus. He and I have had this conversation.
Have you ever wanted to? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, well, you have no idea. No, and I think every father-in-law goes through that. I'm sure my father-in-law, I know for a fact he did. My role now is not just to be a good grandfather for the kids, but to be a model of what my son-in-law should be. And good. My wife or my daughter, or vice versa. Like, how do we handle these conflicts and things? And we're helping the kids out. He's a Marine. He's getting out of the service because he's injured. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I tell the story. And we are doing, hey, whatever you need, whether you need some financial help, whether you need to live in the house for a little while, whatever you need us to connect you with job opportunities. And he's like, hey, I just, never really kind of had that before. We're like, yeah, we expect you to pass this along to my grandson when he needs help, because I don't know anybody who didn't need help. They might not admit it, but we've all needed help in life from somebody at some point. And it's our jobs to not only do it, but emulate to others how it to be done.
Well, I'm loving this whole conversation. I think it leads really well into some questions I ask every guest. And we want to get to know, we're getting to know a lot about Matthew today and his heart for his family and his heart for you as agents. But Matthew, I've got some questions that I'm just dying to know. And the number one is, who has been the greatest influence on your life and career? Someone that you would say, if it wasn't for this person, I probably wouldn't be here today.
And I'm happy that you didn't send me these questions ahead, because I would have totally overthought this. So, and that's probably the point, right? But I will say, first of all, I love my parents, but they were little crazy hippies. My in-laws have been very, very much an influence about stability and putting things in perspective and living out of faith and those types of things. Outside of those, because I don't believe anybody is ever formed by one human. We're mentored by many for good or for bad throughout our lives and throughout our journey. The current broker, the broker of the company I currently work with, I've worked with for 16 years. He has been just an incredible mentor, and he would never define himself then. He's never been intentional about it. It's just the way that he is, about how to deal with problems and people and what's important and what's not. And he and I are started off 16 years ago, very different spectrums. I'd get mad that he wasn't mad at things I was mad about. And everything you bring to him, like, oh my gosh, we got this, the office is burning down. And his response will be like, good, we get the opportunity to rebuild it the way we want to. It is always flipping the script on, there's no negative thing. It's just how you respond to it. The very stoicism that Ryan Holiday and others write about, he exhibits. He was an immigrant who came from Ireland in 1977 on a running scholarship in East Tennessee, and then built the most successful real estate brokerage in our region and has owned it for 40 plus years and is an incredibly giving guy. But he, outside of my in-laws, he has probably been the most definitive role model. And we still, 16 years later, he, you know, has treated me very, very well. We still don't always agree on things, but it's mutual respect, and he allows me to speak my mind and we move on. So yeah, that's probably who.
Love it. Wait, can I ask what his name is? I mean,
yeah, his name's Kevin Breen.
Kevin
and he's
Breen.
the owner of our company. Yep.
All right. I believe we give honor where honor is due. So today we're honoring Kevin. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you could go back all the way to that very first year in real estate and talk to 24-year-old Matthew, what advice would you give yourself?
Get out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. There are days where I wonder. No, I think there was, if I was going to advise, it'd probably be three elements. The first one would be recognize that although this job can be hard sometimes, you get to wake up in the morning and decide whether you're going to be a chief marketing officer or the chief executive officer, or script your time around what you need to, that it gives you the flexibility to be who you need to be. So long as you show up, you got to show up.
Yep.
That's number one. That I love the flexibility of being able to do the different roles that I enjoy doing. The second piece of advice was live on a much more stringent budget than we did. Again, having been very young and then having kids, we had little ones when I got started, and I dumped the other three jobs I was working to do real estate. I wish I was much more disciplined with my budget earlier on instead of year three, which is when we started figuring it all out and how to deal with that. And it's okay to be in a smaller house. It's okay to be with an older car. The rest comes if you invest in people. And the last one is much more practical, and that is truly, truly, truly invest in relationships through the tools you're provided. Every instructor I know says use your CRM. And I think agents need to have some system. Our brains were not created to track 100 people's relationships or thousands of people's. When I started looking at, so Mark, if I see that let's say your kid had a kid today, it was the birth of your grandchild, or you dropped them off at college today, you're going to post that on social media, or got a new puppy. Lots of people will say happy birthday to you because Facebook prompts them to. Lots of people will say, a happy anniversary to your company. I want to pick up the phone and call you a year later and go, man, I remember what it was like when I dropped off my oldest daughter, Mackenzie, to college. It was hard. It was rough on me. My wife was throwing a party in the car all the way back, driving from Florida to Virginia. It was really hard on me. Mark, how are you doing a year later? Yeah. How's your kid doing a year later? That conversation is memorable and human, and the CRM reminded me to have it because I will not remember 12 months from now. Same thing with the dog. Maybe a gift card to Chewy's, little phone call, a little message going, hey, that golden doodle, it's been a year. Is it potty trained yet? Is it obedient? What are you thinking about getting another one? That's way more powerful than calling up going, do you know anybody who's looking to buy or sell? Give my name.
Right.
So using the technology to invest in the humanity of what we do would definitely been something I would have screamed in the face of 24-year-old Matthew in year one.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize you and I didn't have access to the technology when we started that agents have access to today, Yeah. So it is so much further along today than what it was for me in 2006 and you in the late 90s, right? Somewhere in there.
No, 2000. I wish
2002. You were in
2002.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. So what does ultimate success look like for you? At the end of everything. We talk on this show about ultimate success and really reaching your destination. What's your vision? How do we get you there? That's ultimate success. What does it look like for Matthew Rathbun?
I want my big kids to be happy. Healthy is not something we always have control of. I want them to be happy, and I want them to turn around and go, my dad invested in us and kept us safe and listened to us and was there until his last day. That's success to me. Now, I need to have the money to do that. And so working a career, I'm not a retired guy. Like I don't see myself on the beach. I hate beaches. If you put me in the woods though, I would be the crazy bearded guy in the woods that's making YouTube videos about how to build a stool out of an axe like that. I'm 100% down for my side of the mountain. I don't know why they wrote a book where he was sad about it, but no, I want to be a influence and consultant specifically for nonprofits, but for anybody who's looking to up their game, that would be my end of days career.
Love it.
Well, to be in a financial position where I don't have to charge anybody a arm and a leg, or if at all, to help them find their own success. And again, whether it could be running a nonprofit to help humanity, or it could be running their own business, I would love to be financially set enough that people who can't normally afford that kind of help could get it. And I want to be smart enough or have enough wisdom to be able to provide that until the end of the day, is first to my family and then to anybody else who wants to sit at the campfire and talk.
I really, just from the little bit I've gotten to know you and a lot of it from a distance, I feel like that's just who you are. It is very much like you're walking in that purpose today. Maybe not
I hope so.
Part.
I hope so. And we make mistakes all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, just this week, there were some things that I second guessed that I shouldn't have said. And I was, and sometimes, I like to poke fun at people, and sometimes I misjudge whether they can take the joke or not, or whether that was the right platform. And that brings wisdom too. Like I can now go and tell people, hey, even if you think they can take a joke, they can take a joke one-on-one after a beer, but they can't take a joke in an audience.
Right.
I mean, that still builds some wisdom. So yeah, there's definitely mistakes being made. And I rely a lot on my failures to hope nobody else does it. Because that's the only way you can justify your failures in life. Times I've let Jennifer down in our marriage, especially when we were young. The only way I can justify that in my mind is to say it was for a reason, to make sure my son-in-laws don't do it, or other young men or women don't do it. So I hope that's what I become one day, but I'm still very much a work in progress.
Yeah, I think we all are. In fact, this kind of leads into the next question, which is, what is a life lesson that you learned the hard way that you wish someone would have told you sooner?
Oh my goodness. I mean, for personal life and business life, it's two different things. For personal life, I think it's what I shared earlier, right? Is that your family is the reason for all of the rest of this, and you should work to support. I don't believe in work-life balance. My life is much more important to me. It's not in equal portions, but the work has to be done to support what I want for my family and for myself.
Yep.
And I think from a personal perspective, if I could just share what, encapsulate one thing, is don't ever do anything don't be in a situation where your partner would be uncomfortable with the situation yet. Tell the truth, be in the right place that you are. And again, sometimes in this business, we find ourselves in positions and then you go, oh, that was where I was supposed to be, or that would have made somebody else comfortable. I think that's a personal life lesson, right? Is to protect your relationships and don't be in a place where your partner wouldn't be comfortable with you. And from a business perspective, is you gotta put in the work. There is I have not found a shortcut, and God knows I've looked for them, and AI still hasn't. It's a good helper, but nothing replaces my work ethic. And in real estate, we're knowledge workers. Yep. You've got to be learning all the time. That's part of your work ethic. That's got to be part of your daily schedule. Am I listening to blog posts, watching the videos, going to classes, listening to my mentors, scheduling the time? So I know I gave you three and you asked for one, so I'll say the first one. The first one is to focus on your relationships as a primary. What makes them happy? What makes them work? I've watched too many fall apart, and it was both people's fault. It's almost never just one person. Yeah. And number two is to put in the work where the work is needed and be smart about it. You have to do your personal development, but you can't spend your whole life in classes without going and doing work. You have to go execute on those things. But if you're just executing all day long and not learning, that client isn't going to be able to trust you, and you don't know how the contract works. So it's putting in the work in all aspects of our career.
Very good. Okay. So Matthew, do you have a daily routine that you go through?
Mine, it was much more defined when I worked from home for 2 years during COVID than it is now. But yes, so I wake up in the morning, usually pretty early. The dog and I go sit outside just for a while. And then I will look over, anything that, not my email, not the news, because I've really had to get rid of the news. It's just too dark and depressing.
Amen.
And then I sit down and set my day. And what I mean set the day is I look at my to-do-list is what I use to manage the tasks. I look at my emails, and then I time block for the rest of the day. Generally that is written already. Like I have appointments, like we have an appointment here to do this recording. And I appreciate you calling me and let me chat. I love this stuff. I love talking to people. I love your podcast, by the way. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
But I set the day, and then it writes itself from there. Like, what did I block? So if I've got a 2-hour block that morning, I went and said, okay, an hour of this is going to be doing my recruiting. I have to sit down and focus on that. And the second hour is going to be on catching up emails. And then I've got a meeting with Mark. And then afterwards, I'm going to drive downtown and go meet with my clients. And then I've got time scheduled for the kids. And this is for the grandkids to play with them. When I was a dad and we had the kids at home, I scheduled my children out, my time with my kids and the time with my wife. And it was scheduled 1 or 2 weeks in advance. And if you called and said, Matthew, can we meet on Friday? And I looked down and my wife and I had a date planned. Sorry, I can't meet with you.
I have
an appointment. That's exactly right. That was life-changing for me in year 2. And it seems like, oh my God, you made an appointment. They're a business opportunity. They're not. That is time carved out for them. And there was nothing going to move that, because if Mark was coming into town and I put you on my calendar to meet with you, to take you and show you houses tonight, I wouldn't move you because somebody else called me.
Right.
Why would I move my family? Why that family needs to be more important? Just because they're more understanding doesn't make them less important.
Well, and I talk about this because I had a coach years ago when I was on the edge of a nervous breakdown, and letting relationships go, who said, Mark, if you put your family in your calendar and someone asks you if you can do something at that time, you have an appointment. You don't owe them an explanation.
That's right.
And that's exactly what you're saying. And it's keeping the most important things.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
What's the most important part of your routine on a daily basis?
The wind down, the quiet time.
Yeah.
I'm an inbox zero guy, which means I answer every email before I go to bed at night. And that made me very disciplined in emails. And in the past couple months, I over committed myself to too many things. And I lost that quiet time at night where I'm reading something that isn't work related, that maybe, again, I'm reading Ryan Holiday right now for Stoicism. I do have devotional time for faith related things. And I gave up. I was just going to bed exhausted every night. And I felt like I was behind and the emails were stacking up. And it was because I overcommitted to stuff. And so that quiet time is really what saved me. It gave me, and when I lost it for a couple of weeks and wasn't focused on it, it was damaging me. And then I got back into it and said, those emails will have to wait till tomorrow. I'd rather get up earlier in the morning, and set that as part of my schedule. And in the evening, have a routine. I usually put on, music, and depends on my mood and the music. I have a candle, and just to be clear for everybody, it smells like cigars and campfires. I turn down the lights. I focus on.
You're not doing the pumpkin spice. I mean, come on.
No, PSL candles. No, that's not me. Look, good on you if that's your thing. I don't care. You can smell like lavender.
How does your wife feel about the cigar candle?
She has to approve them.
Oh, okay.
She has got a superhuman smeller on her. I mean, honestly, she could tell you there's a gas leak 10 counties away and the fire department will just head that way. It's so accurate. So she's very sensitive to things that don't smell well. We're guys, I typically don't. Like men's locker room candle would be just fine. That's what we grew up with. No kidding. But I'm in a different quadrant of the house. So she'll come in and hang out with me. There's a reading chair that I put in here for her. She's a big reader. Sometimes we'll watch TV together if I have to work late, or we have our own, theater room that we spend a lot of time in most of the weeks. But she'll come and hang out with me. But the lights are set exactly where they need to be in my studio. Nice little candle going, and it's just hyper focused time where I don't pick up the phone. I'm not answering texts or anything else, and that leads to bedtime. So that's it's way more detailed than I think you're looking for.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I part of the reason for asking that question is I want agents to realize they need to build routine into their lives.
100%.
You know, and if you can build routine, your life actually goes smoother, so to say. I mean, that's the only way that I can really think to say it. Life is better when you build in a routine. And so that's one of the things that I like to talk about. And I always like to know what other high performers' routines are. So
I just got a personal coach. I'm trying to lose some weight. Pro tip: don't hire a 25-year-old when you're 50. They don't understand.
Right.
But he's good. I mean, I really like him. I tease him a lot because he does push hard. But I travel a lot, and it's very hard in a routine. So he's actually setting up a schedule when I'm on travel. He'll look at my hotel to see what equipment's there and to tell me what I need to go do while I'm there. And I hate the gym, but I now have accountability, and which is what we tell everybody to have. And I'm doing it, and it's definitely effective. It's effective much quicker than I thought it would be. But traveling really screws up my schedule, and I've had to say no to a lot of things that normally you do when you're at conferences. So, for example, I probably won't go out to dinner every night that I'm on travel. I would rather go get a sandwich and go back to my room and then get back to my routine, even though it's in a hotel room. So my routine is portable, but absent the candle. They don't let you do that in hotels. But
no candles.
Yeah, no candles. But I mean, I still set the lights down to a certain lowness. I still put on music instead of the TV. And it helps me get some stability there because my little ADD brain could die if I didn't have that.
Yep. Well, Matthew, this has been a great conversation. I have to go back and listen and just take notes next time. But for our audience out there that wants to find you and learn more about the things that you're doing, where would they go?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate the conversation. I love the format here and love your questions. And I love that we, oftentimes in these things, when you're interviewed, you get kind of the Q&A and you get the thing. I love that we just could talk off the cuff together. I really appreciate that. And I love your whole vibe.
Thank you.
MatthewRathbun.com is my website. And from there, I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of tutorials, Instagram where I do some tutorials, Facebook where I'm just whatever brain dump I'm doing. Sometimes it's dumb stuff. Sometimes it's, engaging and educational. And then I do have a podcast that my partner, Kimberly Allard, and I do. That is me interviewing Kimberly and I interviewing one another, and me typically being a knucklehead and Kimberly trying to keep us in check. So, it's fun if you're looking for stuff. We're looking more at broker stuff and talking about kind of tools for brokers and things. So it's not for everybody. Whereas
and name of that podcast,
Meet the Moment.
Meet the Moment.
Yep, Meet the Moment podcast. It's funny you asked me because I was teaching somewhere and somebody in the audience was like, "We love your podcast," and somebody else says, "What is it?" And I drew a complete blank. I had no idea. I could not recall the name of it all. I was like, it's on my website. But anyways,
because we record the podcast. If you're anything like me, my production team that they're like right here. They take it and then I kind of forget about it. I try to go back and listen to all of them, but
don't you find it weird to listen to yourself?
We're just the pretty faces, Matthew.
This is the moneymaker.
It is. That's exactly what it is. That I just hope someday I make money. So
that's
man,
exactly
this
right.
has been awesome. I know I'm inspired, and Matthew, I love your heart and I hope you've heard that today. Matthew he's out here teaching, and he's not just out here teaching us and pouring into us as agents to line his pockets. I'm sure he makes a good living doing it, but he's doing it because he has a heart for helping you be better. And truly, I think a lot of our topics today, a lot of the conversation today are things that will help you live your best life and hopefully drive you more to ultimate success. So Matthew, such a blessing to have you today. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope we get to do this again in the future.
I think so. Even if we don't record it, just give me a call. I really, really enjoy talking to you, and I love what you're doing over at your firm, man. It's just such an impressive group of folks, and the feedback I got after the class, those were quality people who took the time to say, what they said. So anyways, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.